It's the ultimate zombie showdown, Italy versus the USA. Chances are your favorite 80s zombie movie is from one of these two countries, but who did it better? Welcome to the Cinema Cult. I'm your guide, CT, and today we're going back to the 80s with 4 essential zombie films from Italy and 4 from the US to determine once and for all which side of the Atlantic did zombies better. And all these movies owe their existence to George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which was largely funded by famous Italian director and producer Dario Argento. And what followed from there was a decade plus of gory goodness that I couldn't be more excited to get into. And there are some absolute classics on this list and some underseen gems. I actually think the last movie here could be a perfect B movie, but we're gonna get there. For now, I'm kicking things off with the unofficial Italian sequel to Dawn of the Dead. This one set the standard for Euro splatter, and over here it's simply known as Zombie. Released in Italy as Zombie 2, an unofficial sequel to George Romero's film, this one was called Zombie Flesh Eaters in the UK before it was banned there, and here in the US it dropped in 1980 under the director Lucio Fulci's preferred title, Zombie. This one sees a boat with nothing but a zombie on board floating into the harbors of New York. That causes the missing boat owner's daughter and a news reporter to venture to the Caribbean to find out just what happened. Now, I love the way Fulci approaches the zombie lore in this movie, and he went back to the roots of zombie mythology with a voodoo-based origin for these flesh eaters.
I mean, what the hell's going on here?
You ever heard of voodoo?
And what he created was a mashup that gave us the best of both worlds, where old-school zombie lore meets gut-munching grindhouse with bloody effects that made Dawn of the Dead look innocent by comparison. This movie has a scene where a zombie fights a shark underwater. I'll repeat that, a zombie fights a shark underwater, and it's all done practically. That's a real shark and a real man under the zombie makeup. The scene is wild. The zombie bites the shark bites back. The whole thing is both unbelievable and unforgettable. And it doesn't stop there because this is a Fulci flick after all, so you know there's gonna be some eye trauma. Seriously, this guy was obsessed with taking out eyeballs, and once that zombie gets a hold of the doctor's wife, her fate's been sealed. This might be his most famous and gruesome set piece because of how slowly everything happens and just how much it shows. It's when that splinter hits her eye that things get really gnarly. Where most other movies would probably cut away, Fulci doubles down and shows the audience absolutely everything. It's too intense for YouTube, so I highly recommend finding an uncensored cut. Zombie may have been an unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead, but in 1985, Romero concluded his zombie trilogy with this next one that takes us out of the shopping mall to an underground military facility. It's Day of the Dead. Romero closed out his original zombie trilogy with easily the grimmest entry of the bunch, Day of the Dead. This one's set years after Dawn, after society's completely collapsed and the world has been overrun with the undead. This time we're following a group of survivors holed up in an underground military facility, barely hanging on to their sanity, and quickly fracturing into rival factions, pitting scientists against soldiers in a pressure cooker situation. The tension builds until possibly the most unhinged character in Romero's zombie trilogy, Captain Rhodes, declares martial law and threatens to shoot anyone who defies him. So as usual with a Romero zombie film, the humans are more of a threat than the zombies. He also uses this film to explore the idea of zombie sentience. He's got a scientist trying to domesticate a zombie named Bub. The zombie makeup and effects here are on a whole other level compared to Romero's earlier efforts, and I absolutely love the way the zombies look in this film. Then there's the gore. Things fall apart in the final act, as expected, and this movie turns into total bedlam. The humans turn on each other, and the zombie horde invades the facility to take them all out. There are some gnarly moments here, with gratuitous amounts of entrails splattered across the screen, but the highlight is the death of Captain Rhodes. The shot of Rhodes opening the door to scores of zombie hands ready to rip him apart is iconic. The effects of him getting ripped to shreds are gruesome. Bub saluting the situation, that adds some humor. And the icing on the cake, those are Rhodes' last words. Day of the Dead, it's a stone-cold classic and a worthy ending to George Romero's original zombie trilogy. But he wasn't the only one cranking out zombie movies, and I've got another Fulci film on deck. This one's extra bloody, so let's head over to the City of the Living Dead. Lucio Fulci followed up Zombie with a movie that turns the gore way up and gets even more unhinged. City of the Living Dead, also known as The Gates of Hell, might be a little confusing on first watch, but trust me, just go with it. It's a wild ride that you're not going to want to miss. This is one of those movies with two converging storylines. In the town of Dunwich, we've got a priest taking himself out, and for some reason that opens the gates of hell. Meanwhile, a psychic in New York has visions of the horrors going on in Dunwich, and they're so traumatic, she appeared to be dead. So now, she and a local reporter are on a mission to Dunwich to stop the apocalypse before All Saints' Day. So you could actually say this is a Halloween movie too. And truthfully, this movie is less about plot and more about atmosphere and awesome set pieces. The undead here look so much more disgusting than the dried out corpses of Zombie. It really ups the gross factor. And the kills here, they're absolutely out of control. The zombies have a penchant for grabbing the backs of skulls until brains pop out, or maybe they'll just stare you down until you start bleeding from your eyes and vomiting up all your intestines. And I do mean all of your intestines. I haven't even gotten into the drill lathe scene yet. This is a real Fulci fake out here. It's set up like one of his classic eye trauma scenes, cutting back and forth between shots of the drill and Bob's point of view as that drill gets closer and closer. Then at the last second, Bob turns away and the drill doesn't go into its eye, but straight through the side of his skull. It's unexpected, it's a brutal twist on the classic Fulci setup. City of the Living Dead is a great example of how strange Italian horror can get. But it's time to head back to the US for a more punk rock take on zombies that invented the brain-eating trope. They're back, it's Return of the Living Dead. Return of the Living Dead was directed by Alien screenwriter Dan O'Bannon, based on a story co-written by Night of the Living Dead co-writer John Russo. The Russo connection and the Of the Living Dead title connect this one to Night and Dawn of the Dead, but it's very much its own thing. I wouldn't call this a parody of the Romero films, but it definitely takes the zombie concept and cranks it up to 11, keeping things scary while having a fun as hell time in the process. And this whole thing starts at a medical supply warehouse. Foreman Frank is showing new hire Freddy the ropes, and they get around to the military drums filled with toxic gas part of the tour when one of those things cracks open and all the dead stuff in this warehouse comes back to life. The most shocking part is these corpses can't be killed by destroying the brain or removing the head, as these guys quickly find out.
I thought you said if we destroyed the brain, it'd die. It worked in the movie!
Unable to kill the corpse, they cremate it instead, releasing more toxic gas that reanimates an entire cemetery, where of course Freddy's punk friends were hanging out. Now once the undead start crawling out of the graves, this movie gets absolutely out of control. The zombies aren't only unkillable, they're also fast and smart, driven by the pain of being dead to consume human brains.
Send more paramedics.
The best zombie in this movie doesn't come from the grave though, it's the Tar Man zombie in the basement. It's an amazing zombie design and totally unique to this movie. Anytime Tar Man is on the screen, I'm having fun. Whether he's chomping on some punk's skull or getting his own head knocked off with a baseball bat, every scene with the Tar Man rules. This film is also notable for Linnea Quigley's portrayal of punk rocker Trash, who gets her rocks off by stripping down to her birthday suit and dancing on top of graves. But that's not the sort of thing I can show here, so once again, I guess you'll just have to find this one for yourself. Return of the Living Dead is absolutely a genre classic, but this next zombie flick, it's criminally underseen and features rage zombies on a Florida college campus. It's called Primal Rage. Released in 1988, Primal Rage is a movie I'd slept on until recently, but I'm glad I finally checked it out because it really proves that not all Italian zombie flicks have to be super gory, and they can lean into the 80s weirdness just as well as any American film. And this actually is one of those Italian movies that's trying to fool audiences into thinking it's an American film. It's set on a Florida college campus where a scientist rocking the world's smallest ponytail is doing some baboon experimentation, trying to restore function to dead brain tissue. But instead, he creates a rage virus, and when a student reporter breaks into the lab looking for a scoop, he ends up being bitten by one of these infected apes, and now he's gonna go spread the disease. Yeah, that's pretty much the way 28 Days Later starts, but trust me, this movie is nothing like that. For example, I never saw anyone in 28 Days Later use beer as a bite disinfectant. Yeah, these aren't the smartest college kids in America. Anyway, this whole thing culminates at the school's Halloween dance party with some of the most elaborate costumes I've ever seen, and 3 rage-infected frat bros dressed up like skeletal Grim Reapers going on a kill spree. There are some great moments here as they're stalking around the gym, taking out random costume characters. The protagonist Sam, he's having none of that though. He takes out all 3 of these jerks. Reaper number 1, he gets a mic stand through the head. Reaper number 2, he's got my favorite death, getting crushed in the automatic bleachers. And then there's Reaper number 3, who's got Lauren cornered in the locker room when Sam puts his axe to good use for the most bloodless decapitation on this list. So yeah, this movie's light on the gore, but there is a final scene surprise attack from the ponytailed scientist. Once again, Sam's on it, tossing him over the balcony, making for a pretty tongue-in-cheek final shot. I guess sprinkler-in-cheek would actually be more appropriate. Anyway, Primal Rage is a great example of Italian filmmakers having some fun with zombie film, so let's head west for another fun one that shows us what 2 valley girls from the 80s would do during the zombie apocalypse. Go to the mall. It's Night of the Comet. After a mysterious comet wipes out most life on Earth, teen sisters Reggie and Sam are some of the last people left. Anyone fully exposed to that comet was turned to dust instantly. Anyone partially exposed, well, they get to enjoy a brief transitional period where they turn into crazed, flesh-eating zombies before eventually also turning into dust. Compared to the other movies on this list, Night of the Comet is light on the zombie action and the gore, but it's too much fun to miss out on, especially if you can't get enough 80s. And speaking of course, these 2 end up at the Sherman Oaks Galleria. I mentioned that mall in my 80s slasher video, but this is the definitive mall of the 1980s. In fact, Kelly Maroney, who plays Sam in this one, she can be seen in at least 3 different movies shot at the Galleria. Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Shopping Mall, and this one. And I think she might have more movies shot at the Galleria than anyone else. We got Schwarzenegger up there with 2, Commando and Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but Kelly's got him beat with 3, so if there's any other actors out there that shot 3 or more movies at this mall, let me know about it. I'm keeping a list. Anyway, this film comes to a head at that mall when some former low-level employees, now fully zombified, get the jump on the girls and take them hostage. The group's leader is an absolute psychopath, but his plans are foiled when the girls are saved by a group of scientists who've been monitoring the situation the whole time. The question is, are these scientists friend or foe? Well, you'll have to watch Night of the Comet to find out, and I highly recommend you do. Primal Rage and Night of the Comet are both underrated zombie flicks full of 80s energy, but my last 2 movies on this list take zombies in very different directions, and they're 2 movies I love to revisit. First up, I've got one of my all-time favorite Italian horror movies, Demons. Directed by Lamberto Bava and produced and co-written by Dario Argento, this movie might be called Demons, but trust me, it belongs on this list, because you can call them demons if you want, but these creatures look like zombies, they bite like zombies, and they spread their undead hunger for flesh just like zombies. So yeah, this is a zombie film. For me personally, this is my favorite Italian zombie or zombie-adjacent movie. I just can't get enough of it. It actually has a pretty simple setup compared to some of these other movies. We got a group of people getting free tickets for a film at a mysterious theater. When they show up, one of the guests tries on a demonic-looking mask in the lobby, cuts her face, and then she starts to transform into a zombie-like demon, drooling green goo and sporting some nasty fangs and claws. From there, chaos ensues as these theater attendees are assimilated into the demonic zombie horde one at a time. As the body count grows in the theater, this movie even brings in reinforcements when a group of coked out car thieves take refuge there while fleeing the fuzz, and they become victims too. If Return of the Living Dead is the punk rock zombie movie, this is the heavy metal zombie movie with a big time body count, relentless pacing, and very unsettling effects. It's full of memorable moments and fun characters like Tony the Pimp.
Holy shit, she's a friend of mine!
But as far as highlight scenes go, it's hard to compete with the moment our hero jumps on the dirt bike in the lobby, grabs a sword, and starts slicing and dicing his way through the theater full of demons. He's riding on top of seats, he's slashing demons down, and just when you think things couldn't get any crazier, a helicopter crashes through the ceiling. Now, if I told you things got more ridiculous from there, I don't think you'd believe me, so you'll just have to watch Demons yourself. It's a relentless and unique take on the zombie story, but so is my last selection on this list. This movie took the best of 1950s sci-fi monster movies and 1980s style zombie movies, smashed them together, and cast Tom Atkins as the grizzled detective trying to figure it all out. Talking about Night of the Creeps. Night of the Creeps has the longest setup of any movie on this list. It literally spans decades. If you're watching this for the first time, you might even think you've got the wrong movie because it kicks off in outer space with these little naked aliens running around their ship trying to stop a biological experiment from getting off board. And they fail, and that experiment crash lands on Earth in the 1950s. We don't get to see all of what happens next, but it's clear something very bad and very weird went down that night. Suddenly, it's the 1980s, and we're hanging out with two college best friends, dipping their toes into frat life, but if they want to be accepted, they need to break into the campus cryogenics lab to steal a corpse. On that mission, they unknowingly unfreeze a victim of the 1950s incident and the alien brain slug he's been carrying all these decades. Now these slugs are spreading, turning their victims into zombie incubators for the next generation of alien slug. And tying the whole thing together is Tom Atkins and his legendary mustache. Pretty much every line out of his mouth is a highlight. He even makes answering the phone look cool.
Thrill me.
Detective Cameron?
No, Ozo the Clown.
Night of the Creeps seamlessly blends its admiration for 1950s sci-fi horror like The Blob with 1980s college comedy and ties it all together with the alien brain slug zombies. In other words, this is just about the perfect B movie. And I love the scene when Cynthia's dumping her douchey boyfriend. She doesn't realize that he's already gone full zombie. She's looking the other way, not even noticing the slugs pouring out of his mouth. That is until Chris and Ray show up, split that guy's head wide open, and torch the slugs with a flamethrower. It's gross, it's funny, and it perfectly encapsulates the vibes of this movie.
I got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
Night of the Creeps, it's one of the most genuinely entertaining zombie movies of the 1980s. If you haven't seen it yet, it's one that belongs on every horror fan's watch list. Alright, so we've gone through 8 of my favorite horror movies from these two heavyweights of 80s zombie cinema, and I've got a problem, because I can't pick a winner. On one hand, I love how weird and unhinged the Italian stuff can get. On the other hand, can't deny how well we do things here in the US. I just can't pick, so I'm passing the buck to you. I want to hear it in the comments, fight it out, and let me know what you think and who did it better, Italy or the USA. And if I didn't cover your favorite zombie flick from the 80s here, make sure you include that too, because there are a lot of good ones I just couldn't get around to today. And if you had a good time revisiting these awesome zombie movies, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons to join the cult. It's still month 1 and I'm only getting warmed up. For now, you can check out my favorite 1980s deep cut slashers right here. And that's it for today. I'm CT Reese, thanks for hanging out with me, and keep watching weird movies. I know I will.